1955's The Night of the Hunter is a chilling and strikingly modern movie and one of the most underrated classics of film history. The story about a murdering psychopath who disguises himself as a preacher is one of the most powerful cautionary tales of false prophets that has ever been put on film, and is also deeply rooted in a Christian worldview and aesthetic. This is a film that just works on so many levels. It's a gangster film with psycho thriller elements told as a tragedy, a kind of tragedy through a coming of age lens, and also combined with really Christian elements. This is a rich movie that was so unusual back in the day, like in 1955 when it came out. It totally flopped. It was actually a feature film debut by the actor Charles Lawton, and the movie was such a hard flop, like he never made a film ever again. In the decades ever since the release, the movie has become like a cult classic, and today it really is a true classic that is still a kind of sleeper among film fans. For me, it's just a brilliant example of how thoughtful, serious, like scary and emotional faith-based filmmaking can be. This wasn't written and directed by a Christian, but the perspective of the film is really clear. Like every single scene, almost every scene, is about morality with direct quotes from scripture and visual allegories to Christianity. I say this is a faith-based film even though the director wasn't in the faith, because of how well researched the direct connections to the Bible are. The self-proclaimed preacher in the film oftentimes quotes scripture and kind of twists scripture into something it truly isn't, but it's always combined with a certain truth and a certain realness. That's like a really sophisticated way to portray a false prophet. Probably the most iconic thing about the film are the tattoos the villain has on his hands. He has love on the right hand, hate on the left hand. This is something that you probably have seen Spike Lee quote in his own debut feature film, Do the Right Thing. Night of the Hunter is a movie that understands both the horror and the beauty of life, both the devil and God. It's a movie full of contrast, like visual contrast with strikingly beautiful black and white images that have been inspired by a German expressionistic film. Every single shot in this movie is just lit and framed in a very unique and beautiful way. There's a contrast within the villain itself. There's just something very scary about someone who appears like a man of God but is really doing the devil's business. The screenplay is really complex in the way the villain manipulates this whole small town, and has the children being the only characters that look through that and recognize the truth, while the adults are kind of blinded and don't know what's real anymore. The editing feels surprisingly modern. There are some intercut scenes and sequences that feel more like a modern film made in the style of a 1955 movie rather than a 1955 movie. And in the end, it's also a really faith-based film. The film has the counterpiece to the killer being an older woman who has kind of an orphanage or takes care of orphaned kids and is a true woman of God, and symbolizes the opposite to the mass murderer psychopath. She directly even teaches the kids scripture in one of the scenes of the film. And in one of my favorite scenes in the movie, the killer is kind of waiting at night outside singing an old church song, and the older woman is sitting inside of the house protecting her home and kind of singing the same song. I mean, that's just really great writing and filmmaking. Of course, it's a shame that the director never made another movie again, because this one stood the test of time better than most movies, even classics from that era. So if you love films and have never seen The Night of the Hunter, you will be surprised by how modern and unusual this movie is. And if you're in the faith, you will find a lot that you're going to be resonating with in The Night of the Hunter. Alright guys, this is it for my review today. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you all a blessed day and hope to have you back in the next one.